But think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big cities, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are. Studies show that people with good oral health are more likely to have good overall health. That's why it's so important to maintain a healthy diet, to brush your teeth at least twice a day for 2 minutes, to floss once a day, and remember to see your dentist regularly. Ohio Dental Association dentists are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care. Ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association, so you know you are being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there's one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at doanford.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Hello everyone, from the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Clouds and sunshine mixing through the afternoon, the daytime high near 59. Partly to mostly cloudy through the overnight with a low of about 37 degrees. Clouds and sunshine mixing again for your Wednesday with highs in the upper 50s. Have yourself a great day everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Good morning. What day is it?
Welcome to the show.
I guess you don't know what today is.
May 11th is National Twilight Zone Day.
That's weird.
Woo! Twilight Zone?
Have you seen it, the Twilight Zone?
Things can get a little weird out there.
What is it, the Twilight Zone?
It's starting to get a little weird.
You are about to enter another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land of imagination. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
It's showtime.
A fresh take on local, regional, and national news. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Still one of the greatest TV shows of all time, The Twilight Zone. Smart, clever writing, insightful perspective on things, a really different way of looking at the world, some clever acting, even though there was a real basic, it was back in the old days, there was no special effects. It was just, God, it was really, what a great show it was, The Twilight Zone. And the original was always the best. There have been a couple of different versions. They've tried to redo it, and it's been okay. But boy, Twilight Zone, what a great show that was. 9/11 on the Watchdog Morning Show. 45 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. A little bit of light rain coming down. And we'll see that on and off throughout the morning this morning. A mixture of sun and clouds, patchy sprinkles a little bit today. Temperatures will rise up until they hit around 56 by midday today. And we'll see some sun, more sun coming in this afternoon. Tomorrow is going to be pretty much the same, a little more sunny. Also, tomorrow night and Wednesday night, Zach is telling us watch out for the possibility of frost. No official frost warnings out there yet, but that is something to be aware of. We were talking last hour about things that will never go back to normal after the pandemic is over. After we all, quote, get back to normal, there are things that will never be normal again. It might be things like handshakes. It might be things like how you take communion at church. It might be more people working from home. Things that will never quite be the same the way they used to be. And one of the things that I don't know if it's going to change for good or not is the employment situation. We are hearing more and more talk about, and we're seeing signs everywhere here in the Upper Ohio Valley, restaurants and retailers primarily, but almost all businesses are saying, help wanted, need help, and they can't get them. And again, restaurants and retailers in particular really complaining about it. You see a lot of headlines. I have one here in front of me. Generous jobless benefits keep workers home. 2 states, South Carolina, Montana at least, have canceled the federal unemployment benefit extension in an effort to encourage people to get back to work by discouraging them from staying on the extended unemployment. I think it's in Montana. I think it's Montana that's actually offering a back to work bonus of some kind. But there is sort of a general perception that the issue is the unemployment benefit extension from the federal government is making it easier for people to stay home and continue to collect that money and not go to work even though there are jobs available. I don't know that I buy that. I see the logic behind it. So I've been trying to delve into this a little bit, and I invited to help me talk about this morning John Deskins, who's the director of the Bureau of Business and Economic Research at WVU. John, good morning, sir.
Hey, Howard. Good morning. Happy to be on your show.
So let me just get right to the heart of that question. Is the extended unemployment benefit, are the extended unemployment benefits a prime factor in people not wanting to get back to work?
Oh, well, my answer was going to be yes, but then you threw prime in there. I think the extended unemployment benefits are probably a factor, although I think it's probably too early to tell. We need more time, more data, more research to figure out all the different causes of the situation right now and to figure out what's prime and what's not prime. But I think they are a factor. I think that's reasonable to assume at the moment.
If they're not prime, if they're just a factor, what are other factors that are out there?
Well, I don't know. I don't have a list for you. I just know that when the economy goes through a period like what we've seen over the past year, there's just going to be naturally some time that's tumultuous. We've been through the most tumultuous year, economically speaking, that we've seen in who knows how long, decades at least, if not since the Great Depression. So there's been a lot of upheaval, a very tumultuous time, and it just takes time for the economy to settle back. For example, there could be other factors. There could be things like just the job openings don't necessarily match up with the skills that people have. There's always some of that structural unemployment in the economy with a mismatch of job skills and so on and so forth. But, honestly, even if this is a factor, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. This is just how it works with public policy. Would it be okay if I just kind of give you my thinking on unemployment insurance benefits anyway?
That's why you're here.
Okay. With unemployment insurance benefits, we're trying to strike a balance. We want that unemployment insurance safety net to be there to help people when they're in trouble, to help people from falling through the cracks, to help people from falling into poverty. The unemployment insurance benefits, really provide a lot of help in society, and I think it's really important that we have that program in place. But at the same time, if the system is too generous, right, and just for example, in the extreme case, if you were able to keep 100% of your prior earnings indefinitely, then we'd see people abuse that system, and we'd see kind of this fake increase in unemployment where people are taking advantage of the system. So we have to have unemployment insurance benefits that are generous enough, but we don't want those benefits to be too generous. And politicians for decades have been trying to work to find that right balance between too generous and not generous enough. And it's not always clear, and sometimes that balance might change over time. Over the past year, we made a conscious decision to make unemployment insurance benefits more generous because the suffering was just unusual. There was more suffering. It was a very weird time. And I think a natural consequence of that decision, which was probably correct in my opinion, is just to see some of this type of situation as we reemerge, as we get back to normal. I think this is a short-run phenomenon. It is painful in the short run, but it's just part of that balance that we're trying to strike. No public policy is perfect. All public policies have, pros and cons, and this is just kind of the natural evolution of an economic cycle.
I do think, as you pointed out, though, this is a little bit different than a typical unemployment situation in that COVID and the pandemic and the shutdowns put an extreme pressure on all of the society and all of the economy. And so I think the fact that these are, I won't say overly generous, but very generous unemployment benefits was primarily by design, right? I mean, the intent was to help extra this time around.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, it was by design, and I think that was justified. And, we're just kind of working through kind of the negative repercussions that may come along with that. But just because there are some negative repercussions doesn't mean that the policy overall was bad. All policies have positives and negatives. So this isn't a weird or a bad thing. And furthermore, I'd like to add, the labor market is getting back to normal far faster than what we've seen in the last few economic cycles. If you go back to the early 90s, and especially the early 2000s, and especially the 2008-2009 recession, it took a long time, years, for the labor market to return to normal. And what we're seeing now is a much quicker return to normal than what we've seen over the past 2 decades. So, I don't want us to get too caught up in short-run thinking. I think this situation will resolve. I think we'll get back to a good situation as all of this unwinds.
I would have expected a quicker than the normal return, though. I'm no economist, and you are, so tell me if I'm wrong. But the unemployment that we have came because of a sudden shutting off of the spigot because of the pandemic. It wasn't that there were some structural things in the economy that were creating people, forcing people on unemployment. We just shut the country down for a period of time.
No, I agree with that. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to draw on the positives here, but I think it is understandable that we are seeing a quicker return to normalcy compared to, say, 08, 09, after this massive financial crisis, this massive lockup in the financial system. So I think it is understandable, but at the same time, I'm still drawing on the positives that, hey, this recovery is looking way better than, 12 years ago or 11 years ago or whenever.
Do you think, John, and I probably no research or anything on this, I guess it's just an opinion, do you think that some people, particularly those who work in restaurant industries and other lower paying industries, by getting the extra unemployment benefits are realizing how little they were paid before and are beginning to feel that, I don't know what word I want to use, not pressure, but are beginning to recognize that, geez, now that I look at it, I wasn't making much money at all?
Well, that's possible. I mean, kind of the going rate for kind of low-skilled labor for those entry-level positions in restaurants and gas stations or wherever, I mean, that's not a high level of income. So there's a lot of issues surrounding that. One issue is, hopefully it'll spur people on to get higher levels of education and training to work their way up that ladder. But it's a multifaceted issue, to say the least.
But what about the reverse of that? What about if workers are in short supply, then isn't the logical conclusion to pay them more?
Well, I think we're going to see that. I mean, there's already been some, kind of talk of inflation in the, in the news in various places. So that's how labor markets work. That takes time. I mean, I don't want us to get too caught up in the short run. I mean, economic cycles like this take several months or a year or even a couple of years to unfold. That wage pressure doesn't just build overnight, but I think that is kind of one thing that we're going to see as a result. Wage pressure, rising wages, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's how incomes rise over time in an economy.
What happened last Friday? We saw the new employment numbers came out. Only about a quarter of what they expected in terms of new employment. What happened there?
Honestly, I don't know. I didn't look into that report too much. To tell you the truth, I don't look at monthly numbers. Never, ever do I look at monthly numbers. I always look at kind of longer-term trends, because in an economy or in a country with 300-plus million people, there's plenty of room for anomalies where 1 month's worth of data can be weird or quirky for some reason. So I always focus on the trends over, at least a quarter, if not over a 6-month period.
John, is West Virginia hit harder with some of these issues simply because of the nature of our workforce and the fact that we already have, I don't know about a labor shortage, but that we have a shortage of trained employees and so on?
I mean, I would think so. I mean, we've been, vulnerable to begin with. I mean, as I've kind of said on your show before, I mean, the low rate of labor force participation and the issues we have around, education, training, health, drug abuse, those issues have made West Virginia vulnerable for a long time. So my inclination would be to answer your question, yes, that those vulnerabilities should still be manifest in this crisis. But that said, if you just look at the broad numbers, West Virginia wasn't, hit, unusually badly during this pandemic. I mean, just in terms of overall employment, the loss that we suffered was slightly less than what we saw nationally. So, again, I'm inclined to say yes, but the data don't show that we suffered an unusually hard hit.
So is your sort of philosophical suggestion then, wait this out, things will get better?
Well, I think that's true. Again, I wouldn't want to get caught up. I mean, the thing is, I'm a full-time economist. I've been working in economics full-time. I started my PhD program 21 years ago this summer. And I have seen so many weird monthly anomalies in monthly data that people have gotten all worked up about, all been out of shape, and then the next month things get back to normal and we realize, oh, we got worked up for no reason. So I think the situation, I think my recommendation is to wait it out. Of course, I always put forward those long-term economic development prescriptions, but from the policymakers' perspective, they'll have to decide, what to do with these, extended unemployment insurance benefits. There will be a time when we have to return to normal with policy, and it'll be up to policymakers to make that decision. And, it's a tough decision, and the political system isn't exactly perfect at the moment. I would probably argue, not being a political scientist.
John, this is probably not directly related to the hiring issue, but to what extent is it? Maybe my question to you. There's been a real big push, a real big conversation in this state about the outmigration that we have, the tremendous loss of population that we have, and various policy suggestions have been made to try and fix it. I'm not sure what question I want to ask you. How serious is this loss of population, and are there policy ways to resolve it?
I think it's very serious. I mean, as you saw, a couple of weeks ago, we lost 60,000 people between the 2010 and 2020 census. That was about 3.4% of our population, and the next biggest loser was Illinois. They only lost 18,000, and then there was only one other state that lost population at all. So the issue is we have many of our counties that are in this vicious cycle where we see an economic shock followed by job loss, followed by outmigration, followed by drug abuse. And we just see this downward spiral where the counties become less and less attractive to potential businesses. And that's where this outmigration is fundamentally coming from. And it's very hard to turn that around. I mean, we just have to, there's no easy solution. There's no overnight solution. We have to focus on those fundamentals. We have to focus on making our state more attractive to potential businesses. We have to focus on making our workforce more attractive to potential businesses through things like improving education, training, and health and drug abuse. And in some sense, we also have to focus on our strengths. We have to focus on the pockets of prosperity in the state where we have positive momentum and try to accelerate that momentum and see that momentum spread out to other parts of the state. It's kind of easier to accelerate momentum where it's already in place versus completely turn around a county where we're tied up in this vicious cycle of job loss and outmigration, et cetera. But that's kind of the million-dollar question, really.
Where are these pockets of progress, so to speak?
Well, I mean, there's several places across West Virginia where we see good things happening. I mean, the two obvious ones are north central West Virginia in the Morgantown area. and over in the Eastern Panhandle, those two regions have been absolute standouts based on every statistic for several years consistently. But we have potential in other areas. I mean, like Wheeling has some potential, I think. I think there's a lot of potential in Wheeling, actually. We have potential in kind of more quaint, tourist-oriented areas like Thomas or Elkins or Lewisburg. There's a bunch of pockets across the state that we can build on. But the one thing that's going to be for sure is we can't, like, say, go back to 1980 and pick the county-by-county population that existed in 1980 and try to get back to that same distribution, because that's not possible. That doesn't happen anywhere. We're not going to be able to restore every single county to what we saw, at some point in the past that we might hold as a benchmark.
John, you and I never had a chance to talk about this during the legislative session. There was a big push for an income, and I think it's not done by a long shot. They're going to try some other form of this income tax reduction or elimination in West Virginia. Is that a good incentive for bringing people back, do you think? Not back, but bringing people into the state?
I don't know of any data that would indicate that just simply getting rid of the personal income tax and replacing it with a higher sales tax and with other taxes here and there, and also spending cuts in areas like infrastructure or education. I don't know of any data that would support that policy change would be any type of game changer for West Virginia. We do have, here's the thing, there may be some people in the country who are kind of drawn to an area without a personal income tax, but who have correspondingly a higher sales tax or whatever. But there are already 9 states without a personal income tax. Texas, Tennessee, Florida, 3 of the most prominent. So, if we were the only state to make this change, that might be a big deal. But we would be the 10th state. And anyway, I know of no data that would indicate that it would be a game changer, and that would be like the solution to all of our woes.
It seems to me, and again, I'm no expert, it seems to me that the states that don't have income tax and have other things to offer are the ones that will see an attraction of people. And no offense to West Virginia, I think we have things to offer, but I'm not sure that we highlight them enough. I mean, we have some beautiful, outdoors, and we have the mountains and the hills that we haven't removed mountaintops on. And tourism is a big deal. But it's not like going to Florida. I mean, I keep using the example of Florida. Florida has beaches and, golf and all kinds of things.
Well, that's why I mentioned, Florida and Texas. I mean, the states without a personal income tax, that's not the only, unique attribute of those states that might draw in people. Florida certainly has a lot of other things going on. You mentioned tourism, though. I think we have a lot of potential with tourism if we could further develop and support that industry and market that industry. I mean, people from Washington, D.C., for example, sure, they're going to take a big, fancy vacation to Florida or California or somewhere like that. But we're within driving distance. And if we could better market our cabins and our national park and our other outdoor recreation areas, mountain biking, water rafting, rock climbing, if we could do a better job of promoting those activities to people in Washington, I think we could grab them in for a bunch of weekend vacations, even though they may take their big annual vacation to, San Diego.
I also think that, and tying into some conversation we had on this show last hour about post-pandemic, I think one of the things that will stick around after the pandemic is that people will be interested in they'll be a little more careful and cautious about the places they go. I have a feeling that more outdoors type activities that you can perform in smaller groups as opposed to large city tours and so on will probably do well after the pandemic, and that would be perfect for West Virginia tourism as well.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and I think that does nothing but even add to the urgency that we have to do more to develop these tourist opportunities and market these tourist opportunities. I'm 100% agreed.
John, before I let you go, because you do take a look at all of these things across the state and in the local area as well, what types of industries are we seeing succeeding? And I won't say industries, what types of businesses? Tourism is a good one. I suppose the natural gas industry is still a big one.
Well,
is there anything on the horizon that we should be looking for?
I don't know. I mean, healthcare is a big industry in some parts of West Virginia. That can be a real good base for certain parts of the state. I mean, in your area, in Wheeling, I still have a lot of hope for downstream manufacturing activity. Now that we have the shell cracker coming online here pretty soon in Beaver County, Pennsylvania, I think we have, a lot of potential to continue to develop that downstream gas manufacturing and petrochemicals. It's taking so long to see that manifest. But I still think there's the potential there, and I think that's kind of the biggest potential for the northwestern part of the state. We just have to be diligent and keep pushing forward year after year, it seems.
Is the effort to talk about increased broadband, is that really important to attracting businesses and individuals to the state?
Broadband isn't just a factor that's important in economic development. It's a deal breaker. If you have broadband, you can go on to think about economic development considerations. But if you don't have broadband, then everything else is just out the window. It's a deal breaker. It's not just one of 10 factors. So for example, we talk about drawing remote workers to West Virginia, and I think that's a pretty cool thing and a pretty cool idea. But that discussion only involves the counties that have good broadband. The counties that don't have good broadband right now are just simply out of that discussion until they're able to get good broadband. So that issue is of fundamental importance. I think we have to move away from thinking of broadband as some type of luxury or whatever. When electricity was first introduced in the 1800s, it was a luxury. But eventually, over time, we thought of electricity as a necessity, as a fundamental public utility. And I think we're going to have to move to broadband, move to thinking about broadband in that same way, or else the areas without it are going to be just left behind.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. And I hope that we come up with some strategies to do that. Hey, John, I always appreciate talking to you. You give me lots to think about, and I thank you for your time today and for the work that you do.
Enjoy talking to you. That was a broad conversation, but it was a fun conversation. It was always fun to come on your show.
All right, we'll do it again sometime. Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Have a great day. John Deskins is the director of the WVU Bureau of Business and Economic Research. Always good to talk to him. He's an easy to talk to kind of guy. He doesn't talk like in economics terms, and get a good sense of what he's thinking about here. And basically he's saying, don't worry about this. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But this issue of not being able to get enough employees to work is a short-term problem, he says. I think he's probably right. I also think that he's probably right in saying that this is my personal opinion, and John's the economist, and I'm not. I think that the extended unemployment benefits are a factor in people staying away from taking some of the jobs that are out there. I don't think it's the prime moving factor. I think what's happened, again, this is just me. I think people have begun to realize how little they were paid. I'm going, no, you know what? I'm not going to go back and work for the small amount of money they were asking me to take, and hopefully I can make enough tips to make up a difference and so on. So I think that it's sort of an unintended consequence of the extended unemployment benefits. Not that people, I don't believe, the premise that people want to stay on unemployment, even the extended unemployment, and not work because they're lazy. That's the premise that people, well, you know what, take that money away, they'll come back because they're just lazy, they won't stay home. I don't think it's that fact. I think it's that many of them realize I can actually better care for my family now. I can better feed my family. I can take care of childcare needs or whatever with the extended unemployment money. And they're beginning to realize, my God, I'm just not getting paid enough before. And it seems to me the economy would say, then the answer is offering better wages. Now, I know the argument, you offer better wages and then prices go. I know all of that economic argument. But we always look at it from the business point of view. And I've been a businessman. I understand it. But maybe we should look at it from the employee point of view sometimes. Maybe we got to say, well, geez, I guess I can see how they're saying to themselves, I now see there's a little better life, a little extra money. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You remember, Biffy, I was wrong twice before. You remember that, right?
Yeah, one was in 72.
That's right. That's right. So I've been wrong twice before. 9:36, 24 to the hour. Let's check some headlines from Metro News. Mr. DeFabio's got our morning sports update for us. And I've got some odds and ends on the national scene I want to get to. A few other issues I want to tackle. And then we'll turn things over to Hoppy at 10 o'clock. Before that, we'll talk about Westfall from the Big Seven. It's 9:36, 24 to the hour, 45 degrees. We're the Watchdog Morning Show.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Met.
The rest of this community to discuss our world and the events that unfold daily. Be a part of the conversation at 304-214-1600. Real Big Talk, weekdays 2 to 5 on the Watchdog.
We need safe and secure elections. But Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senator Chuck Schumer are pushing legislation in S1 that would undermine West Virginia's election laws, taking away our power and putting Washington bureaucrats in charge of our elections. Their bill would allow partisan groups to collect thousands of ballots without supervision. That's currently illegal because it leaves ballots unprotected, without security, threatening the integrity of our elections. Worse, Pelosi and Schumer's bill would spend billions of public funds your money on political campaigns. Billions to subsidize politicians, even those receiving money from private donations. They want more money for politicians and more power for Washington bureaucrats. Call Senator Joe Manchin at 304-342-5855 and tell him we need safe and secure elections, not more wasteful spending. Tell him to stop the partisan power grab and oppose S1. Paid for by One Nation. www.onenationamerica.org.
Hey, I'm going to the kitchen. Can I grab you a Coors Light?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Huh. I never knew there was a zip line in my fridge. Hey! Hey, buddy! Yeah. You got 2 Coors Lights up there?
You got it!
Always brewed down to 34 degrees. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time.
Here you go. 2 Coors Lights.
Awesome, man. Wow, these are really cold.
That's the only way I deliver it.
Sure. I mean, you being a mountain climber and all?
Yep.
You probably need a pretty warm coat in there, huh?
Yep.
Hey, Ben!
Yeah!
Ask him if he has any nachos.
You got any nachos in there?
No.
Just icy cold Coors Light?
Yep.
That makes sense. It is the Rockies.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Coleraine. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Coleraine trusts the Watchdog.
If you miss a part of the show or want to listen again, you can find conversations, interviews, and rants on our podcasts at Apple Podcasts or on WatchdogNetwork.com. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
9:45, quarter before the hour, 45 degrees, a little bit of light rain coming down at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Coming up at 10, statewide talk line, Hoppy Kercheval this morning and every weekday at noon, of course, live to the news desk at WTRF TV for Ohio Valley Headlines. So if you're out and about during the midday and you want to catch all the local news, tune us in at noon. We go straight to Channel 7 for their live update. And then Bill DeFabio, the Bill DeFabio Variety Show from noon until 2. And Big Rick is here at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So a lot going on. We were talking with John Deskins before the break from WVU's Bureau of Business and Economic Research about this trend of not being able to find enough employees, and you're seeing a lot of businesses complaining about that. Some businesses have put signs up saying, closed, or forgive us, we're moving slowly because we can't get enough employees. Nobody wants to work anymore. That's what you're seeing in some of these places. Across the country, though, some employees or potential employees or former employees are kind of fighting back with their own signs. Here's just a couple of them. Attention customers. We are closed, can't get anyone to work. You want to know why? Ask our corporate offices why their employees are forced to work in borderline sweatshop conditions for 8 hours plus without breaks. We are overworked, understaffed, underpaid, and underappreciated. Almost the entire management and crew of this place have walked out until further notice. It's just one of these signs you're seeing up around. I love this one. Sorry, we are closed due to no staff. Turns out no one wants to work anymore. Then a long explanation. We are now hiring. If you would like to apply, go to our website, fill out an online application, then submit a resume with all the exact same information that you put in the application, as well as a cover letter which summarizes the things in the resume and the application. We prefer someone with 5 years experience on the niche software that literally no one uses except us. Starting wages range from $11 to $16 an hour. LOL, just kidding. It's $11 for everyone. You will also be subjected to humiliating personality and drug testing as a means to test how willing you are to surrender your dignity for $400 a week. So prepare yourselves for that mentality. Oh, also, even though we're desperate for staff, we probably won't call you for an interview for 6 weeks. Now, these are the response that some of the some employees and former employees and potential employees are putting up when businesses are saying, closed, nobody wants to work anymore. And I know a lot of you are saying I'm sounding like a liberal, because I am. But I think what we're seeing here is a realization that our economy has turned upside down. That we now accept the reality of low-wage jobs as if that is supposed to be the norm, the standard. This is the kind of job, these are the jobs that people are trying to live on. And it didn't used to be that way. Certainly here in the Upper Ohio Valley, we understand it used to be coal and steel and industry and really good paying union type jobs that could support a family. That's what people went for. And then you had the fast food places and the retail stores and so on, where kids could get a start, or maybe retirees could hang out and have a little extra income. And that's all been turned up on its head. Now we're expecting these low-paying jobs to be breadwinner jobs, and they're not. And what I'm saying is, I think a lot of people have begun to recognize, looking at their extended unemployment checks with the extra money in them, that extra money makes a huge difference. That, my God, we have been tremendously underpaid. That we've been accepting these low wages because that's all that's been offered to us, and we need to do something about it. And I don't fault someone for saying, at some point, look, let's be realistic. Again, John Deskin says it's a short-term issue. Let's be realistic. At some point, the unemployment insurance is going to run out. I think it's scheduled to run out in September. I think that's right, the extended unemployment. There are some Republicans trying to cut that down immediately, but let's assume you continue it let it run its course. When that extended unemployment ends, then employees will probably have to go back to taking their low wages. But I don't fault anybody. I don't fault anybody for saying, I could barely get by on what you guys were giving me. And again, this is not an anti-business, especially small business comment. I understand how difficult it is, how small a margin businesses live on. I understand all of that stuff. But there's a certain amount of human dignity we have to take into account. And again, we've allowed our society, we've allowed our economy to turn upside down. We have begun to accept that working at Walmart, and I like Walmart, I'm not an anti-Walmart guy, that working at Walmart is supposed to be your desired career, or that being a manager at McDonald's is supposed to be a great thing. Now, those things are, don't get me wrong. And also, let me be very clear, that many Walmart managers make really good money, and managerial people at McDonald's or Burger King or Arby's, wherever, can make good money too. Long hours sometimes, but that's true too. But I think, again, part of the reason we're seeing people not wanting to get back into the workforce when they have the extended unemployment benefits is they're recognizing the economy is upside down. I've talked about this a zillion times over the years. You know, when I got into this business, every year we reported on the annual listing of the biggest businesses in West Virginia. And for decades, it was Weird and Steel. And I remember the year when Walmart became the #1 employer in the state. The economy is upside down. Bob Westfall, however, is right side up. Always is over at the Big 7. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Howard. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I am doing fantastic. Fantastic here. So, obviously, the biggest story of the day is sentencing of Rita Mays going on in Clarksburg as we speak. We were following it. I know John Lynch is following it online. She is the woman who has pled guilty to 8 cases of murder. She is to be sentenced today. And taking a look at some of the story lines we've got from John. She's right now they're taking victim statements. The widow of one of the victims has spoke, and I'm sure other victims, relatives of victims will speak as well. But anyway, she's pled guilty to 7 counts of second-degree murder, 1 count of assault with intent to murder back in July of last year. So that is the story. That's the story the nation is looking at right now. I know some of the national media is in Clarksburg. Judge Glee is presiding over this. So we will have all the details tonight as well. We have several crews both in Charleston and in Clarksburg covering the story.
You know, one of the things that I'll be curious to see if we hear today, Bob, and I was reading some reports that suggest we will not. What was the motivation?
I don't know. She's been pretty tight-lipped through this entire thing. There's even according to the report I just read, that she may be responsible for more than what she's being sentenced for today. So I'm like you. I kind of like to hear why she did such a thing.
And I'm just curious. This is just pure curiosity. Why doesn't she want to say? Because she has not said anything about motivation.
No.
And that's just, you know, she's already pled guilty and she's going to be sentenced, and it's going to be a heavy sentence, I think.
Uh-huh.
Why not at least explain yourself? I don't understand it, but and maybe it will come out today. I don't think so, but maybe it will.
Maybe in a statement, maybe something like that. Maybe she will finally explain why she did what she did. But up until this point, she definitely has not. So I know Mark is covering it. Amanda Mueller is covering it from BOI, and we will have all this information this evening. We'll have an update at noon, and then we'll have complete coverage at 5 and 6 tonight.
Sounds good. What else are you working on? That's a good story, but I'm sure other stuff.
Taking a look at the economic impact of the golf tournament that's going on out at Ogilvy this week. It's kind of nice to have big events going on again. So anyway, we're going to do a little, see what the impact is to the economy. I'm sure it'll be a good shot in the arm, but we're going to talk to Ogilvy about the impact on that. So we're excited about that. The 2 escapees from Jefferson County have been caught. They've been caught in Virginia. Really excited, good about that. We're going to talk to a local law enforcement officer, police chief in New Martinsville, Tim Cecil. Kind of did some backdoor investigations that kind of led to their arrest. So that's a very interesting story. Just kind of wasn't involved in the investigation. Neither inmate was from his county originally. Just kind of had a hunch and kind of followed it, and led to the arrest of the two escapees. So we're gonna go down and talk to Chief Cecil and see what his thoughts were, what his operation was, and how he came to catch these guys. I thought that was a pretty interesting story.
That should be intriguing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Of course, we're going to follow weather. Like I said, we've got the golf tournament out at Ogilvy. I think that actually kicks off today. So Scott will have highlights from that tonight. So we've got a little bit of everything cooking all over the country.
All right, sounds good. Noon 5, 6, 11. Noon 5, 6, 10, 11. 5:30 statewide show, of course. And always online, including right now with information about the Rita Mays sentencing at WTRF.com.
Okay, and I know there's going to be a press conference for the Rita May by the U.S. Attorney's Office. It'll be on YouTube, but I'm sure John will be live streaming that as well.
All right, so just keep in touch with all the news of the day by checking WTRF.com and then watching the news when it's on the air. Bob, good talking to you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Okay, all right, talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right, thanks a lot. Bob Westfall from the Big 7, WTRF TV. Checking in here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Hey, this is National Nurses Week, and in celebration of that, National Nurses Week and National Nurses Month, the Ohio County Library's Lunch with Books program today at noon on their Facebook page and their YouTube page will feature a look at nurses with Dr. Christine Hazlett, who is a registered nurse and director of the Center for History of Nursing and Midwifery at the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom. She's got a new book called Celebrating Nurses of Visual History, and they'll be talking about that today at noon at the Ohio County Public Library. The Lunch with Books program, it is live online on their Facebook page, the Ohio County Library's Facebook page, and on their YouTube channel. Check it out. And I guess that's pretty much all I've got time for this morning. I got to say sayonara, see you, bye-bye, farewell. I got to go. I got to get out of here. Mr. Kercheval has the calm coming up next. As for me, good Lord willing, creeks don't rise, bat phone doesn't ring. I don't overeat. My ticker keeps on ticking. I don't retire. And most importantly, as always, grandson Teddy says, it's okay, Granddad. You can go back to work tomorrow. I shall return tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Another go around to the big gig. Are you back with me, Biff?
I will be here for Wednesday.
We're going to keep on doing it until we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Oh, yeah.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC.
All right, Biffy, we made it through. Tom Squitieri notwithstanding, so yeah, we did all right. I'm really losing focus. If I can't get better the next day or so, I'm going to have to. I hate to break down and do what my wife advises, but I may have to call the doctor because this isn't getting any better. And I say I can do 2 hours. The third hour really is stretching me. Of course, tomorrow's only 2, so that'll be too bad. Jenny Craig tomorrow talking about a rally for that pro-union act that we talked to Josh Schwartz about recently. There's a rally tomorrow night, so Jenny's a guest tomorrow. And who knows what else might happen? I don't know. I think I'm going to go try and take some medicine and just lay down for a while and see if I can recuperate. Could be. If you need me, I should be around, though. Feel free to call me. Otherwise, I'll talk to you in the morning. All right, thanks for your help, as always. Appreciate it. All right, bye.
Moscow, more than 20 have been hospitalized, 6 are reported to be in an extremely critical condition. There are harrowing videos, of children desperately climbing out of the school down ladders.
The FDA has granted approval for Pfizer's COVID vaccine to be administered in children ages 12 to 15. That plus warmer weather has people like Dr. Richard Besser, who runs the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, encouraged, he says, about being outside.
It's a pretty safe place to be as long as you're not in a crowd. A lot of this virus just
just disperses into the air. So outdoor, one of the reasons I think we're seeing numbers going down is that people are moving outdoors, and it's a much less friendly place for the virus. It's a very friendly place for people.
A recent survey shows only about a third of parents plan to get their adolescents vaccinated right away. The rest say they will wait a bit. You're listening to ABC News.
Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases. When you use your Credit Karma Money debit card, you can win daily instant Karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Right now, visit creditkarma.com/winmoney. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Inc. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other